Have you ever sat in your quiet living room, staring at the clock, wondering why your kids don't visit anymore? The house feels too still. The laughter that once filled the kitchen has faded into silence. You think back to the days when your children couldn't wait to come home, when weekends meant big family dinners and warm hugs. But now, weeks pass, sometimes months, and no one knocks on the door. You start asking yourself, did I do something wrong? Should I have said less? Or maybe more? For many elderly parents across America, this painful silence is more common than anyone dares to admit. It's not just about busy schedules or long distances, it's about the silent mistakes that slowly build invisible walls between parents and their grown-up children. These aren't dramatic arguments or big betrayals. They're small, everyday patterns that seem harmless but leave emotional scars over time. Take the story of Helen Rogers from Seattle, Washington. She's 76, a retired schoolteacher, and a mother of 3. Helen told me, "I used to call my daughter every morning just to check on her. I thought it was love. But one day she said, 'Mom, I need some space.' I was shocked. I thought, how could a mother give too much love?" Helen's story reflects what many parents go through. They confuse care with control. And without realizing it, they make their children feel suffocated, not supported. Psychologists from the University of Michigan found that over 68% of adult children who feel emotionally distant from their parents describe constant criticism or unsolicited advice as the main reason they avoid visiting. It's one of the most common mistakes elderly parents make, believing that their role as a parent never changes, even when their children are already adults. But the truth is, parenthood evolves. The older we get, the more we must learn to detach yourself from the need to control and instead, simply love without expectations. This video isn't here to judge or blame. It's here to open eyes, to help you see the most common mistakes that push children away, and more importantly, how to rebuild that precious bond again. Because love doesn't disappear with time, it only fades when misunderstood. So stay until the end. You'll not only discover the 5 silent mistakes that make your children pull away, but also find hope, real, practical ways to reconnect, rebuild trust, and feel the warmth of family once more. Before we begin, take a deep breath. This might be uncomfortable, but it's also the first step toward healing. The goal isn't to blame yourself, it's to understand, to grow, and to rediscover peace in your golden years. Let's begin this journey together, because the heart of a parent never stops loving. But sometimes, to find your child again, you must first learn to let go just a little. Mistake number 1, trying to stay too involved in their lives. It's natural to want to stay close to your children, even when they're grown adults with families of their own. You spent decades caring for them, feeding, teaching, protecting. So when that role suddenly fades, it feels like losing a part of your identity. But here's the painful truth. One of the most common mistakes elderly parents make is trying to stay too involved in their children's lives, even when it's no longer welcome. You might think you're helping by offering advice, calling every day, or showing up unannounced just to check in. But to your children, those actions can feel intrusive. It's not that they don't love you, it's that they're trying to establish boundaries that make them feel respected as adults. Learning how to detach yourself from your old parenting habits is one of the hardest lessons of aging gracefully. Consider the story of Robert Jenkins from Austin, Texas, a 72-year-old widower who couldn't stop worrying about his son. "When my son got married," Robert said, "I used to call him every night. I just wanted to make sure he was okay, that his wife was treating him right, that he was eating well. One day, he stopped answering my calls. Then he sent a text, 'Dad, I need some space.' That text broke my heart." Robert's story is a mirror for many parents who ask themselves, should I keep reaching out, or am I pushing him away? Psychologist Dr. Laura Carstensen from Stanford University explains that as people age, they crave emotional closeness but often express it through control, advice, or worry. Unfortunately, these are the common mistakes of aging parents who fear being forgotten. The irony is that the harder you try to hold on, the more your children pull away. Studies in family psychology show that adult children who feel micromanaged or emotionally pressured are 43% less likely to initiate visits or calls. So, what can you do instead? The secret lies in trust. Trust that you've raised your children well enough to handle their own lives. Trust that your love doesn't have to be constant to be real. Learn how to express care through presence, not persistence. Sometimes, simply saying, "I'm here if you need me," is far more powerful than endless advice. When your instinct tells you to call again, pause and ask yourself, "Am I doing this to make them feel loved, or to make myself feel needed?" That simple question could save your relationship. Because love, in its truest form, doesn't chase, it waits patiently, with open arms. Mistake number 2, giving unwanted advice. There's a saying that every parent believes they know what's best for their child, and that belief doesn't fade with age. But as your children grow into adults, the advice that once felt like guidance can begin to sound like judgment. One of the most common mistakes parents make in their later years is giving advice that wasn't asked for. It might come from love, but it often lands as criticism. Think about Linda Matthews from Phoenix, Arizona, a 74-year-old grandmother who always wanted to help her daughter raise the kids the right way. She often told her daughter how to feed the grandkids, how to decorate the house, even how to handle her marriage. "I thought I was helping," Linda admitted. But one day she said, "Mom, every time you visit, I feel like I'm doing everything wrong." That moment broke her heart. She didn't realize that her words, though meant with love, were slowly cutting off emotional closeness. According to research from the University of California, adult children interpret frequent, unsolicited advice as a lack of trust. It sends the message, "You're not capable without me." Psychologists call this a common mistake of emotional overreach, where parents blur the line between caring and controlling. Studies show that adult children who feel overly parented report lower emotional satisfaction and are more likely to limit contact. If you've ever asked yourself, "Should I say something, or should I stay quiet?" try to remember this: advice only works when it's invited. When your son or daughter comes to you for help, that's your moment to share your wisdom. But when they don't, silence can be an act of love. Learning how to listen more and speak less is not weakness, it's wisdom. Dr. Carl Pillemer, a gerontologist at Cornell University, studied hundreds of older parents and found that those with strong relationships with their adult children practiced emotional restraint. They learned to offer empathy instead of direction. When your children share a struggle, they often don't need you to fix it. They just need you to understand. So here's something to reflect on. When your children tell you about their problems, do you listen fully, or do you jump in with advice? The next time you feel the urge to correct, pause. Say instead, "That must be hard, sweetheart. I'm here for you." Those words heal far more than any instruction ever could. If you're still watching this far, type number 2 in the comments to let us know you're learning something valuable today. And while you're here, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Golden Age Wisdom, your home for inspiring stories, gentle reflections, and timeless lessons about love, aging, and family. Mistake number 3, holding on to guilt or expectations. Guilt is a quiet shadow that follows many parents into old age. You think about what you should have done differently, the things you should have said, or the moments you shouldn't have lost your temper. But here's the hard truth: living with guilt doesn't heal the past, it only poisons the present. And for many elderly parents, holding on to guilt and expectations is one of the most common mistakes that keeps their children emotionally distant. Samuel Harris from Denver, Colorado, a retired firefighter, knows this pain too well. His son stopped visiting regularly after years of unresolved tension. "I kept thinking, maybe he blames me for working too much when he was young," Samuel said. "So, every time he came over, I'd apologize again and again, until one day, he told me to stop. He said, 'Dad, I just want to move on.'" Samuel thought that guilt was helping him show remorse, but in reality, it was cutting off the healing process. His son didn't want endless regret, he wanted peace. The same goes for expectations. Sometimes, parents hold on to the belief that children should visit every week, should call every day, or should include them in every decision. But the truth is, the world your children live in today is different from the one you knew. People work longer hours, raise kids in two-income households, and manage overwhelming responsibilities. When your love comes with expectations, even unspoken ones, it starts to feel like a burden. A 2022 study published in the Journal of Family Psychology found that adult children who feel obligated to visit parents out of guilt rather than love report lower emotional closeness and even mild resentment. It's one of the most common mistakes older parents overlook, confusing attention with affection. True love is free, not forced. So how do you heal from this cycle of guilt and unmet expectations? You start by learning how to detach yourself from the need for constant reassurance. Instead of asking, "Why didn't you visit?" try saying, "I'm happy to see you when you can make it." Those few words can make a world of difference. They tell your children you value their presence, not their performance. When your thoughts begin to whisper, "Did I do enough as a parent?" remind yourself that you did the best you could with what you knew at the time. Your children's lives are their own now, and that's a sign you raised them well. Let go of guilt. Release expectations. What's meant for you, love, connection, forgiveness, will always find its way back when the heart is open and patient. Mistake number 4, not respecting their independence. One of the hardest transitions for parents is realizing that their children no longer need them the way they once did. You spent decades guiding, protecting, and providing. It became your purpose. But as your children grow older and create their own families, they begin to crave independence, and sometimes, parents struggle to let go. Not respecting that independence is one of the most common mistakes elderly parents make, and it can quietly push their children away. Take Margaret Lewis from Columbus, Ohio, a 78-year-old mother of 2. She loved her son deeply and wanted to remain a big part of his life. "I used to show up at his house without calling," she admitted. "I'd bring groceries, clean the kitchen, even rearrange things to make it look better." She laughed softly, but then her voice cracked. "One day, he told me, 'Mom, please stop coming unannounced. It makes me feel like you don't trust me to handle my home.' That was the day I realized love can suffocate when it doesn't respect boundaries." It's a lesson many parents learn too late. When your love becomes overprotective, it can feel like control. Your children might start to wonder if you believe they're capable adults. This subtle doubt can erode confidence and trust on both sides. According to a study from the Pew Research Center, nearly 61% of adult children say they limit communication with parents who frequently criticize or interfere in personal matters. The intention may be love, but the effect often feels like judgment. So, how do you strike the balance? It begins when you learn how to detach yourself from the urge to fix things for them. Instead of offering help before it's asked for, wait for an invitation. Respecting their independence doesn't mean you're no longer important, it means your role has evolved. You're now the safe place they return to, not the one directing the path ahead. Dr. Robert Waldinger, a Harvard psychiatrist who led the world's longest happiness study, said that healthy relationships in later life depend on mutual respect and emotional space. When parents honor their children's independence, visits become a joy, not an obligation. So here's a gentle challenge. The next time you want to step in and offer help, pause and ask yourself, should I do this, or am I doing it because I miss being needed? That single question could be the bridge between tension and peace. If you're still watching right now, type number 4 in the comments. It means you're truly reflecting and growing with us. And while you're here, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Golden Age Wisdom, where every story reminds us that aging doesn't mean losing love, but learning a wiser way to keep it. Mistake number 5, taking things too personally. As parents grow older, every word, silence, or change in routine from their children can start to feel personal. A missed call becomes rejection, a short visit feels like neglect, and a forgotten birthday dinner feels like betrayal. But in truth, these moments often have little to do with love, and everything to do with life. Taking things too personally is one of the most common mistakes elderly parents make, and it can quietly destroy the emotional bridge they've built over the years. Take Patricia Moore from San Diego, California, age 75. She used to feel hurt when her daughter didn't call for days. "I would think, maybe she doesn't care about me anymore," Patricia confessed. Then one day, she told me she was juggling 2 jobs and barely sleeping. "I realized I had made it all about me when she was just trying to survive." Patricia's story is a gentle reminder that sometimes, love requires us to see beyond our own feelings. Psychologists call this emotional projection, assuming someone's actions reflect their feelings toward us, when in fact, they might just be overwhelmed or distracted. According to a 2021 study by the American Psychological Association, over 58% of elderly parents admit to misinterpreting their adult children's busyness as rejection. This emotional misunderstanding is one of the most common mistakes of aging parents, leading to resentment and distance that could have been avoided. The truth is, everyone carries invisible battles. Your children might be working overtime, managing kids, paying bills, or even dealing with their own emotional struggles. When your love becomes fragile, easily hurt by unreturned calls or short answers, it pressures them instead of comforting them. Sometimes, the best way to keep connection alive is to detach yourself from assumptions and give space without resentment. When your son forgets to call, it doesn't mean he doesn't care. When your daughter says she's too busy to visit, it doesn't mean she doesn't love you. It just means life is happening. Learning how to see through compassion instead of self-doubt is one of the greatest signs of emotional maturity in your golden years. Dr. Susan Whitbourne, a developmental psychologist at the University of Massachusetts, says, "Parents who stay emotionally resilient in old age tend to have closer relationships with their adult children. They give grace instead of guilt." So next time you feel hurt, pause and ask, am I reacting to what's real, or to what I fear? That small moment of reflection could save your peace and your relationship. Because love, when it's strong, doesn't take offense, it understands. Final conclusion. So here we are, at the end of this reflection on the 5 silent mistakes that can quietly distance you from the ones you love most. If you've stayed with us through every story, every tear, and every moment of realization, then you've already taken the first step toward healing. Because awareness is the seed of change. Once you see where things went wrong, you can begin to make them right. Maybe you've recognized yourself in Helen from Seattle, who cared too much. Or Robert from Austin, who couldn't stop worrying. Maybe you've carried guilt like Samuel from Denver, or struggled to let go like Margaret from Columbus. Perhaps you felt the sting of loneliness like Patricia from San Diego, wondering why the phone stayed silent. You're not alone. Every parent, at some point, wrestles with these feelings, the longing to be needed, the fear of being forgotten, the ache of love that doesn't know where to go. But the truth is, your children haven't stopped loving you. They've simply grown, just as you once did when you left your parents' home. It's the natural rhythm of life, each generation learning to stand on its own, while still holding the roots that raised them. The challenge, as we age, is learning how to detach yourself not from love, but from control. To give space, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. There's power in silence, grace in patience, and deep beauty in understanding. The most common mistakes of aging parents don't come from malice, they come from love that hasn't yet learned its new shape. When your children pull away, it's not the end of the story. It's an invitation to love differently. To love quietly. To love freely. Remember, healing doesn't happen overnight. It begins in small moments, a softer tone, a patient pause, an apology, or a simple text that says, "I'm thinking of you." It begins when you replace expectations with gratitude, and guilt with compassion. That's when the distance starts to shrink, and the warmth begins to return. So, as we close this chapter, take a moment to reflect, which of these 5 mistakes spoke to your heart the most? Which one are you ready to let go of today? Write it down. And if this message touched you in any way, know that you're already on the path toward peace and reconnection. If you've reached this far, type "I choose peace" in the comments, because choosing peace is choosing love. And before you go, please like, share, and subscribe to Golden Age Wisdom, where every story reminds us that it's never too late to learn, to forgive, and to love again. Your journey doesn't end here, it begins with understanding, and it continues with grace. Because even when the visits grow fewer, and the house grows quieter, a parent's love, when patient and wise, always finds its way home.